instead of the minutes?
Which is basically just discussing our education plans. So I think just as, I guess, a bit of a recap, last time I had kind of made up a little presentation that showed some of the educational materials from the different haulers around town, and then also some information from acceptable items of our West Rock as the Louisville MRF and Rumpke as the nearby MRF. And I sent that, I made some adjustments to that before sending, but I did send that out on the to the group. So hopefully you all saw that, so you could kind of refresh your memory or see it if you weren't here. And Marie Burnett just joined. So Sandra, I guess
We have a quorum. Has everybody had a chance to look at the June minutes? And if you have, is there anybody who wants to make any amendments or changes or anything like that? If not, we'll vote on them. Did you, Marie, I didn't know if your hand was raised or you're changing your glasses. Oh, okay. Okay. All right. All those in favor, if you'll raise your hands, please. All right. The minutes are approved. Karen, if you want to go back to our consistent messaging then.
Sure. All right. So I sent that out as a PDF for everyone's to be able to look at a little closer. And I had added a few things from Republic's Recycling Simplified website because I had failed to include that before. And that they have, it's similar to like WM, having a national website that has lots of good information on it. So I wanted to make sure that some of those things got included as well. And then at the end of that document, I had some of the information from what we call a MRF survey, which is a document that was made by the Recycling Partnership. And I've used it, and I basically give it to Kim and Hillary to have a representative from both Rumpke and West Rock to mark down what is acceptable, or maybe it's detrimental and not accepted, or not accepted, but it's not really detrimental, or they don't have it as accepted, but if they get it, they recycle it. Those are kind of the four choices. So Sandra, I was emailing with her today to make sure we were ready for, whatever we wanted to continue on and talk about today. So I do have, let me share. I do have this document, and I scrunched it a little bit right there just to try to fit it on, so it didn't break at a weird spot. So what I did was, this is the same MRF survey. Basically, it just looks a little bit different than the one that was in that PDF. But I put a W in blue for West Rock and an R in red for Rumpke. And if there's any notes, I put them in blue or red, depending on who said it. So, and then these are the columns, which when I scroll, that will disappear. So the first column here is yes, they accept it, and it would be included in all of their education as acceptable. The second one is no, they don't accept the item and they consider it detrimental. And then the third is no, they don't accept it, but it's non-detrimental to their facility or safety or whatever. And then the fourth one is no.
Are you sharing your screen?
I'm sorry?
Are you sharing your screen?
Oh, I think so. Can everybody see it?
I don't see anything.
I can see it.
I can see it.
It must be an issue for me then.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
But I only see part of it.
It's all white blank for me.
I don't know. I'm only on one. screen when I'm at home, so I don't know. Can you, Sandra, can you see if I
I
scroll it
think I'm
down?
looking at about a third of the page.
I wonder if I did have it zoomed in quite a bit.
Well, I can read it, whereas now it's a little testy.
Okay. Well, you're right. I mean, I did have it zoomed in so that hopefully you all can see it better. And I'll scroll as I go, but I didn't want to pass up the top until you were familiar with the columns. So the fourth one over is no, they don't really want to, they don't list it as accepted, but if they do receive it, they would get it to recycling. So,
But then what would recycling do with it?
well, I just mean they would, it would, it would be recycled through a market that they have, but it's not, I don't know. Hillary or Kim might be able to say that better than me.
No, I would say definitely, and I'm going to imagine Hillary would probably say the same thing. We each have items that we don't necessarily ask to get into our recycling, but that is a recyclable item. So it still gets recycled, but it's just not something that we're asking to go into the mix. You know, and that can be a metal product. It could be an aerosol can, a pots and pans type item, certain types of glass. Just items that's still recyclable, but it's not something we would want in the regular everyday mix.
And they're not going to a landfill? You actually do have a market for them?
If we list that particular item, yes, but there are items that I would imagine each of us have listed. I don't remember theirs by heart, but I know that we have that we can't recover. Garden hoses would be one for us.
Well, if you look like at this, it says the definition for the document is but recycled items, meaning items are not wanted in the stream, but will be pulled off the sorting line to be recycled if markets exist. So I guess for each item, it would depend. Like West Rock, for example, you have hardcover books in that category, meaning you would prefer to get them separately. You're going to recycle them, but you don't really want the hardcover in that sorting mix, right? Because it won't go through the machines. Good. So for each of these items, there may, and Sandra, you kind of mentioned that on an email that maybe where there are differences, maybe we can see or try to understand more of why, whether it has to do with the facility or the end market, or whatever. But so if you look at this, where it has WR in this column over here, basically that's where we're the same. That's where the two facilities are the same. Or if they're both over here like hardcover books, then you know, neither of them want hardcover books. So where there would be a difference would be, for example, the ice cream container, which is paper ice cream container, and then paperback books, takeout containers, and tissue paper. So for paper, those are the four things that that West Rock says they accept, but Rumpke says they don't accept. And I think besides the fact that Recycle Coach on, you know, the app gets really detailed. So if you search an item, something's going to come up for that. But if you're making a general flyer, you know, I'm not going to put a paperback book on a picture just because it isn't generally a thing that we're trying to get people to recycle. So, so, you know, not everything makes it into that image on the flyer, but that doesn't mean it's not acceptable. So Recycle Coach, though, if you use that what goes where search, that's where you get into a little bit more detail and into the weeds of what's accepted. So I can keep going. I don't know, Sandra, you can help guide me. I'm not sure. As far as glass, bottles and jars, That's kind of the basic thing that we would all really want. Westrock says a drinking glass, sure, they can take that too. But again, I'm not going to put drinking glasses like on a flyer. Aluminum, this is one that is on the flyer that's a little different that we talked about, like a pie plate kind of thing, a foil. The good thing is in that column, it's in the no, they don't accept it, but it would get recycled. Whoops, I jumped. Let's see. Scrap metal. I was looking, I felt like that on a previous MRF survey, Westrock had that as a no, but it says it had it as accepted this time. So I don't know. I get an update every January. I try to have Laura or Kim fill it out. And then the spiral wound container, which is like a Pringles can, that's recently added for Westrock. But the funny thing is they put it here in the steel product category, but if I'm not mistaken, Westrock takes it for the paper, right?
That's correct.
And then another difference for plastics is, this is about to get into plastics, is how you describe plastics, whether you use the numbers, the resin codes, or shape and size. So Rumpke does shape and size, and Westrock does the number. And then we don't really, I know that they'll accept film if it's bag and bag. Oh, and on my PDF, that little circle got moved. It was circled bag and bag. I typically, just for confusion, don't really say that. I just pretty much try to get people to send all bags, film, and wrap to Kroger. Just take it back to Kroger. Buckets is a different one. Crates. Nobody wants styrofoam.
Well, and that's an example of a product that we really can't do anything with it in our residential here, but it is a recyclable item.
Mm-hmm.
But it is going to not make it anywhere if it comes here. So unfortunately.
Yep. Yep. So again, this is very detailed. And I should say, I mentioned to Sandra earlier through email, but Hillary is trying to schedule a meeting where we can kind of discuss some of these things so that when the district is educating, we want to make sure we're not doing anything against what either MRF would want with the differences. And we just haven't been able to schedule that meeting yet. So hopefully we can soon. So I don't know if there's any questions. Well, I guess I'll get down to the last, and that is top 5 prohibitive items. And these are very similar. And I mentioned that on the meeting, maybe it was the advisory committee I'm talking about, but whenever I shared that presentation, at some point we mentioned that I think we can all agree on top contaminants. So any education about what you shouldn't put in recycling, like batteries, plastic shopping bags, and anything that tangles, I think those are very much consistent and can be agreed on.
Is that the bottom of the list, by the way?
Yes.
You can scroll up to the top.
Mm-hmm. Hi, Pete.
Hi, sorry I was late, everybody. So it seems to me as though we have the positive messaging that we can put out. These are where everything is in agreement. And that's a pretty easy take. And then we get into the not detrimental, no, but recycled. We pretty much need to stay away, in my mind, from educating on the no detrimental. I don't think that there's a whole lot of those, and I don't think that you would get a lot of that in the curbside recycling. And then we would take and work with both facilities to see if, like, hardcover books, how bad is it if it gets in there? I mean, they say not detrimental. Would they be willing to accept that as something that is acceptable? Well, wait a minute, let me back up. That wouldn't matter because we're not going to advertise that that is something that we accept. It's a one-off.
Correct.
So when it comes to paperback books,
Most of the time when these things come up, it's either because someone searched it themselves on Recycle Coach or they literally asked me.
okay, yeah. So paperback books, Rumpke doesn't want them, but they do get recycled. Would Rumpke agree that we can include that in our approved list? Because it's not going to be that much of a contaminant for them. They're probably not going to get that much of it. And how much can they tolerate? I would say no, but recycled is something that's more tolerated than no detrimental. So we would want to get agreement that they can accept that, and that's bringing our list closer together.
You changed it. So now see little.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that an awful lot of the things that are in the final columns also,
That's the tool. That's why.
even if we accepted them, would not contribute massively to the entire stream. So it's things that are in the right-hand columns that do have volume in terms of the stream, that are the ones that we need to do what you're just talking about on.
Yeah. Can you scroll down a little bit more, Karen?
Kim, if a library contacted you and said we have 300, let's say, books and we've taken the covers off and it's source separated, would you accept those?
Yes, and if it's and we get that all the time with a library, if they separated it and it's not going into a dumpster where it ends up in the commingled, they actually don't even need to take the covers off. We just don't want a bunch of hardback books, and even if a hardback book got thrown in, it wouldn't be detrimental. It's just that we wouldn't want someone putting, an entire encyclopedia, like the everything in there, because of it being hard and the tumbling that it goes through, it can be damaging to the equipment. But we pick up, hardback books all the time from schools around within Jefferson County, outside of Jefferson County, small libraries, church libraries, when they clean out stuff, and they can mix them together, or they can separate them from hardback and softback, and we will even drop Gaylords off so that they can fill them up and leave them on a pallet so that we can come back and pick them up with the pallet jack.
So let me ask you this, Kim. If, we on our Recycle Coach, as far as what goes where, we have a message that is possible to do for large things, contact such and such for this. But for the average citizen that's got 20 hard book covers from their college days or their high school days, would it be something that if we had that as an item at one of our full service recycling drop-offs in Gaylords that you guys would accept?
Absolutely.
Is there a value to it?
There is. Yep. There is value to it.
Okay.
Would the covers have to be removed from the hardbacks?
No.
No?
It would just have to be kept dry, right? They couldn't get wet.
Correct. If it got sprinkled on, that would be okay, but absolutely, we would not want it to be like in the storms that we've been having, sitting out in a big cardboard box with all those books in there. It would not be a pretty sight.
So when we can upgrade our full service recycling centers, I think that this is something that to consider as far as an avenue for people to do it. We don't want it in the curbside, but there are options for large generators and for people that want to drop off.
Mm-hmm.
What if we added it to a pop-up? like paperback books and hardback books.
Well, and to be honest, I thought that's what you were saying, Pete. So,
No, well, we have the sites that are open 5 days a week,
okay.
8 hours a day.
staff
And
sites.
we do have the pop-up drop-offs, which was what I was not thinking of those. So it's a good point.
Okay.
We could do both.
Possibly.
I will say, as soon as I ever say what you can do to recycle a book, there's always someone that comes back and says that you should donate it.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, and they do, trust me.
yeah, I
Even
know
to
there
our
are,
Tiny library.
yeah, there are books that don't need to be in circulation anymore, that some are just so outdated or they're textbooks or something like that. That's understandable, but
Yeah, finances,
yeah, the message is always
Yeah.
donate first.
yeah, finances from the 50s really don't go very well.
So just to keep looking at this list a little bit, takeout containers is one that we would probably need to have a discussion on between with Rumpke as far as whether or not that they can accept those in our advertising. Tissue paper, I don't know too many people that put tissue paper in there, but when it comes to drinking glasses, ceramics.
Well,
and
may I say
window-
one thing back on that? Because when I saw tissue paper, I didn't think of a Kleenex tissue paper. I thought of wrapping tissue paper.
Yeah, that's what
Okay.
it is.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, so we'd need to clarify that, huh? Because I thought of tissues like Kleenex.
No, it'd be like wrapping paper for a gift bag.
Is Rumpke here?
I think Hillary came on.
Is Hillary here? I wonder how they took that.
Yeah, we could clarify.
Well,
Good
you
question.
and I had different impressions, so yeah, it'd be good to have that clarifying question because it might be that someone would think it's tissue like a Kleenex.
Yeah, so that might not be an issue. Maybe it is. The
Yeah.
glass, the drinking glass, ceramics, and window glass, neither facility wants the ceramics or the window. And I'm going to say that we as Metro don't want to collect drinking glasses just due to the hazard of our collection crews.
Mhm.
So that would be one that I think that we would all agree on that we don't want to advertise.
Mhm.
So,
And again,
my-
that would be a donation.
okay. So going through this, I think that's the kind of things that we need to do through this list
Mhm.
is to try to see where we can come to agreement on these things. And then I think that what we're going to find out is we have very few things
Mhm.
that we're really different on.
Well, and we may also, like we talked about the tissue paper, but the takeout containers, because some of those are styrofoam.
Well, that's
So
just under
I can
paper.
see, yeah, I
This
can
is-
see it, I know, but I can see us for the average person reading it, where we're gonna have to use sometimes more words.
Oh, yeah. This is a totally different type of document. This is a list of
I
paper
agree.
products. It's also listed under a plastic product, all these different types of plastic containers. So like food storage containers, things like that. And then styrofoam listed separate for plastic. So that's gonna be looked at differently.
So
But yeah, we
Actually, a
won't.
lot of them are the same. It's really,
Mhm.
it's excellent, Karen. It really
Yeah.
is.
It is.
I mean, it's a great document. We just,
Mhm.
we need to take it and have that discussion
Mhm.
we're having now with them and see where we can come up. And where we get to the end of it, we'll see what we got left.
Well, and then you also got what you're doing with the contracts committee, because once we get back the information that's going to come out of their survey, that helps us formulate what we're going to do too.
Yeah, good information.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Very good.
Okay, so it looks like Hillary had to jump off the call anyway, but we can get together separately on this.
Karen, could I say something that's a little bit off topic? I just don't want to forget to say it to you. I thought the presentation from the field trip people was excellent. And I thought some of the facts that they gave about plastic water bottles I can't remember exactly what they said, but like filling up Churchill Downs, I thought that that would be something cool to put on your, what is it, the No Waste Wednesdays?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because I
that's a
just
good
thought it
idea.
was good information. And I know sometimes you're looking for content on there.
Yeah, thank you. So aside from the MRF differences, I was wondering, stop me if anyone had any more to say on that. Um, but I did have a thought earlier and I wanted to run it past you all. As I think we had a discussion about waste, the private waste haulers, and kind of understanding a little bit more about where each hauler takes their material, which I think is maybe not as important if we get a standard accepted list. So I might be talking myself out of it, but I was thinking about if it would be beneficial to maybe have a short little questionnaire similar to the idea that I send a MRF survey every year to the two MRFs. Maybe there's some sort of questionnaire that can be sent to the private waste haulers that would help me when I speak throughout the county, because I do talk to people that have all the different private waste haulers. And I didn't know if that would be useful.
Topics would you include?
Well, I guess the main thing was going to be which MRF do they take their recycling to? But like I said, if we end up kind of mirroring the two MRF lists, then maybe that's not as important. I can just give the same information to anyone. And the other thing I wrote down was just if a private hauler had any different offerings or if they specialize with businesses more than residential, or if there's anything like that. I've just never really gotten into the details with any of the private haulers. So that was just a thought I had earlier today.
I think that I get all the reports on where recycling goes. So I know where every hauler sends their stuff. So I've got that information.
Okay.
I think that in the end here, I don't think that if we can get our list to be an agreeable list to both the MRFs that are here in town, we educate countywide on that, regardless of the haulers, because that's where it's all going, right? So residential single stream means this. So it means that no matter where you're at in the county, this is what is accepted in curbside residential. And that makes it a whole lot easier for us to do a lot of that education. Whereas I know it's difficult for people to go from this hauler to this hauler to this hauler and know exactly what they accept. So it's kind of like, I don't want to say we're taking over the education for the private haulers. We're just making sure that it's all good. Everybody's doing the same thing. And then we have one consistent message, which we all know over the last several years, the consistent message is probably one of the most important things that we can do.
Mm-hmm.
And the waste district can do all that, which is what the waste district is meant to do.
I think that sounds good. I don't think it would hurt for Karen to ask if the waste haulers had any special, if any individual had a special concern or something that they were more skilled at, it wouldn't hurt us to know that. But I agree in terms of messaging with Pete. I think we're coming very much closer to being able to develop something that is consistent. Marie had a hand up earlier. Burnett, did you realize, or were you just
No,
waving it?
Pete answered the question.
Oh,
Thank
okay.
you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
I hadn't seen that before. It was kind of cute.
I was thinking, shoot, the haulers. I lost my train of thought. Something you said, Pete. Something about the haulers. It'll come back to me in a second. The other question I had was also, I don't know if we can kind of brainstorm like what people need to know. I think as far as residents, it's oh, I know what I was going to say. The waste haulers have a lot of information to give as far as the days and the times and all of that as well. So, you know, keeping and having somewhere where it's very general for recycling, I think is good. For what's accepted. So I think that's great. The what is it? If I had, let's say there was a basic website or web page that could potentially even link to the different haulers pages that they would want it to go to, like if, and like Carl had mentioned on the advisory committee meeting, having a QR code that can be put out that anybody could go to and say, oh yeah, this is a lot of great info. And then it leads you even into more details about your own personal household if needed. But is there anything specific that could be on that type of website, I guess? What do people need to know from us?
I think that we also need to think about not just staying with digital.
Oh, yeah.
I keep getting new neighbors about every 2-3 years across the street. And one of the things that is very apparent to me is that they're not looking things up. They're putting things out. I think that your the way you're putting out information with your stickers telling people that this is not acceptable, because I think we also need to take a look at how we can literally put things in people's hands that relate to them, rather than expecting people who don't necessarily think that trash is important going to a website, because I do think there are people that go to those websites are the ones that care. And I think we also have to reach the ones who don't care.
Yeah, I think you're right. Having a brochure pamphlet kind of thing. And
Something.
those, if it can have some of the same information that a website has, but you're right. I do that too. I'll have a flyer because I think people might not make it to the website, but if they have it on the flyer, and
So-
eventually could put at places like libraries and stuff, especially if it is true and good info for everyone in the county.
I think one place that we can start, to Sandra's point, is at the curb when a cart is delivered,
Agree.
whether it's a garbage cart or recycle cart. When we delivered recycle carts, there was a packet that basically it was in a plastic bag and you put it in there and it basically hung out. That was information for them. And it can be the same information that we all agree to here to be consistent, but it can also be branded to that individual company. So it could be that we supply that to the individual companies as they go out and deliver new carts. They put this with it. They can have their own company's brand on it, but it's the same information that's on the other haulers thing. And now we're starting to get consistent with our messaging.
I agree. I think that would be a great idea. Our whole city will be going to new carts in a very brief period of time. And the opportunity to be able to communicate with all the households in the city is huge.
The curbside is really probably one of the best places to get that contact.
I agree.
I mean, I just got something new and man, look at this. I want, of course, if it's directions, I probably wouldn't look at it, but if it's information, I probably.
Pete Rumpke puts a picture on the lid on the recycling containers of everything they'll take.
I think that was one area that we wanted to do, was look at get images of all the carts to see what the carts look like. If there was a symbol that could be a sticker that can be put on carts, but after carts are replaced, they have to have this kind of symbol, and it, again, branded. But no matter where you went, no matter what hauler, there was that symbol for recycling, this symbol for yard waste, this symbol for garbage, and it was built into it. I think that helps people when they're moving from this city or this hauler, or this HOA.
You want me to send you a picture?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
we're looking for it from all of the different waste haulers.
I'll send
And
you
I
one.
also think it's a great time to really stress batteries. They're not to go in your trash or your recycling. And, you know, we've had an enormous amount throughout the country of MRFs and landfills with lithium battery fires this past year. And I'm always amazed at the number of people I talk to openly about it that really don't know they can't go in their trash at home.
Where do they go?
You need to take them back to like a Batteries Plus, or you can take them to Lowe's or Staples.
Has been.
I don't has, but you can't put them in your trash or your recycling container at home.
Now, I guess one question I would have for Marie is the lithium batteries. It may be because of the way the landfills are done, it kind of smothers them out. But is lithium batteries causing problems in the landfills as far as fires?
They can. Yeah, if we know that we're getting those, we don't take. But as you know, people put all kinds of things in household waste. So, but yeah, they can cause fires. Yes, absolutely.
Well, I know it causes
And in the
fires.
trucks too.
Yeah,
You
in the truck.
yeah,
So
yeah.
all of our
Right.
education probably needs to include it, that it doesn't go into the collection stream whatsoever.
Right.
Then we do have to tell them what they can do.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's good.
Anything else?
Well, it sounds to me like getting that list finalized is going to be really good. I think it'll looking closely at those MRF surveys and just kind of getting a solid list of what we can say and what everybody's comfortable with. Because I know, I mean, I do talk to a lot of people, but also just having some being able to create some flyer website, however it is, that I feel confident that anyone can look at and it's good information.
I think also it would help because the list is very long. If we knew which items would contribute the most to recycling, because I think in addition to a long list, we've got to be able to summarize things simply.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that that'll be determined by our capture rate study.
I hope so.
You know, so we might focus on that one material for a year and really increase it because it has the highest value or the, you know, monetary value or even diversion value.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Have you let out the RFPs yet?
We're in the process of getting that into the Metro's special form. Right.
Yeah, it's there's a boilerplate thing, but they make you fill out a bunch of stuff before you even get to the boilerplate, and that's something that Karen hasn't done before, and I've only done a few times. So
Yeah.
it's an
It's awful.
education on our part.
Mm. Is that all for the agenda?
That's all I have.
Pete?
I'm sorry I was late, but the conversation and the discussion to me appears as though we're starting to pull this thing together. So I'm real excited about it and glad everybody's here and participating. And I think we're heading in the right direction. So thank
We're
you.
glad to see you back and healthy.
Yeah, me too. That wasn't fun.
Oh, I can imagine. You sounded awful at the last thing. We're at the thing for public input. Is there anybody wishing to be heard on items pertaining to the agenda? If not, our next subcommittee meeting is the second Wednesday of September. And that's all for today. I need a motion to adjourn.
I do have one other thing.
Okay.
Next time Bruce Blue brings popsicles to a meeting, he needs to bring some for everybody.
And when we have a meeting in public, I will bring them. I promise you.
I salivate, I say, man, that looks good. Sorry.
See everybody.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
Thanks, Kim.
Second.
Thanks, Marie. All those in favor? Thanks.
Thank you, guys. Have a good
All
night.
right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.